Hi all, I'm myself C. Ashwini doing first year B.Ed in Shakti College of Education for Women. Here I am going to narrate about the topic Understanding Nature of Classroom Interaction, which comes under Unit 4 in the subject Language Across the Curriculum, which is a half course paper. In this title, Understanding Nature of Classroom Interaction, we are going to see about what is classroom interaction and how the classroom interaction takes place in language classes. Then Flanders interaction analysis system. These are the topics we are going to see about here. Now, what is a classroom interaction? That is, the classroom is a place where the interaction between the teacher and students takes place during the teacher learning process. And the teacher tries to present the subject content through various teaching learning activities. Then in the in what are the interaction takes place in the classroom means the teacher may ask questions and the students are ready to answer the questions. Then teacher writing on the blackboard and explaining and providing the lesson related information through lecturing. These are the interaction that takes place in the class. Next, what is language classes? So how the classroom interaction takes place in the language classes. In language classes, that is 80% of the classroom interaction that are language dependent and 20% are only independent of the language. Here the teacher present the subject content in the second language teaching classrooms. More than 90% of the teacher student interactions are language dependent. So in language classes, the teacher not only tries to present the subject content but also tries to expand the language knowledge of students and fluency in the conversation. In language classes, where English is taught as a second language, most of the students do not have adequate language ability, so they do not like the teacher. They won't answer to the questions of teachers. So the teacher also selects only few students who are ready to answer the questions. This restricts the scope of classroom interactions in a limited circle. So in language classes, how the classroom interaction takes place means in the classroom interaction takes place through first the teacher talk. Teacher present their subject content. Next, student response, that is initiation. Next, subject content presentation. The way the subject content is presented, how the teacher is going to present the subject content through explaining with pictures, charts, blackboard writing, using flashcards, etc. Then teacher asking questions in the language classes, that is questioning the students about the subject content. Next, student response, that is answering to the questions raised by the teacher. Next, teacher's response. Teacher's response means teacher answering the doubts raised by the students. Next, students discussion, that is students discussing among themselves about the subject content and their doubts so that they can clarify themselves. Next, teacher's instructions. Teacher directing students, instructing what the student should do and should not do. Teachers influences. Teachers direct and indirect influence on the students to reinforce the response of the students, praising, giving hints, commenting on students' activities, etc. Likewise, the classroom interaction takes place in the language classes. So in the language classes, there are two categories of classroom interaction, that is language output and language input. Language output Language output refers to the learner language competence. Language input refers to the classroom activities that help students to achieve mastery in the language in which they try to learn. Next, Flanders interaction analysis categories. We are going to say about how the classroom interactions are measured using Flanders interaction analysis categories. In this topic, there are 10 categories in which Flanders categorized the interactions. There are 10 categories. First 7 categories comes under teacher talk. Then next 2 categories comes under students talk, and the 1 categories of pauses. Here the first 7 categories are assigned to teacher talk, or again divided into indirect and direct influences. Then the student talk categories 8 and 9. The student talk comes under categories 8 and 9, that is responding and initiatory. The last category is silence and confusion. Indirect influence means there are 4 categories in indirect influence of a teacher talk. First one, accepts feelings of pupils. Second one, praises or encourages. Third one, accepts or uses people's ideas. And fourth one is asking questions. Indirect influence encourages student participation and freedom of action. Direct influence, there are 3 categories in direct influence. Lectures, gives direction, criticizes or justifies authority. In direct influence, it increases the active control of the teacher and often aims at conformity and compliance. That is, the direct influence of the teacher could be felt in the teaching activities like lecturing, restraining students' responses and behavior, and giving advice to students. So, first category is accepts feelings and pupils. Accepts feelings of pupils in an unthreatening manner. Next is praises or encourages, that is jokes to release tension but not at someone else's expense, nods head, says go on, etc. Next, accepts or uses pupils' ideas, that is clarifies the doubts, builds or develops students' ideas. And then asking questions comes under 4th category. Asking questions means with the intent that the student answers. Lectures gives direction, criticizes or justifies authority comes under direct influence. In lectures means gives facts, opinions about content or procedure, expresses own ideas, asks rhetorical questions, etc. Gives directions means directs, commands, orders and expects the students to comply. Criticizes or justifies authority, that is shouting at extreme, self-reference, etc. These are the categories that comes under teacher talk. The main 2 categories are indirect and direct influence. Next is student talk. That is student talk. Here in the student talk there are 2 categories: student talk response and student talk initiation. In student talk response, pupil replies to the teacher's questions and queries. In student talk initiation, pupil himself initiates the talk. That's all about student talk. Then the last category is silence or confusion. In silence or confusion, there are pauses, short periods of silence, noisy behavior, and they cannot understand what the teacher is doing, etc. These are the 10 categories that comes under Flanders interaction analysis categories. These categories are used to measure the classroom interaction Next topic is strategies for promoting the classroom interaction. There are 4 strategies for promoting the classroom interaction. First thing is improving the strategies of questioning, attending to learners' linguistic levels, building teacher-learner rapport, and the last one is reducing classroom anxiety. The first one, improving the strategies of questioning. Language plays an important role here. If the language English is taught as a second language, most of the students do not have adequate language ability. So if the teacher asks questions to students, most of them hesitate to answer to the questions, so the teacher neglect them to only some students will answer the questions to teachers. The teachers raise questions to those who responding to their questions. Therefore, language plays an important role in improving the strategies of questioning. To make all the students to take part in a classroom activities, the teacher should know the language ability of each student, and accordingly easy questions or difficult questions can be raised to each student according to the level of language ability of that student. Then only all the students will come forward to answer the questions put to them and involve themselves in the classroom activities. Then second thing is attending to learners' linguistic levels. In attending to learners' linguistic levels, each student have their individual language ability. A teacher must know their language ability and put some easy or difficult questions to the learners. By attending to learners' linguistic levels, the classroom interaction can be promoted. Next, building teacher-learner rapport. By improving the language ability in the classroom and by understanding the language ability, the students who study English as the second language have very low language ability in English. Therefore, they did not come forward on their own to interact with the teacher. So the main reason for this is their personality pattern, cultural background, and lack of ability to converse fluently in English. Every student should be encouraged in the classroom interaction and should be given equal opportunity. So, this builds the teacher-learner rapport. If the teacher raises any questions, the learners must be able to attend the questions in their flexible manner, in their flexible languages. So, by learning all these language ability of students, the classroom anxiety, that is fear, can be reduced, so that every student can participate in the classroom interaction. That's all about strategies for promoting classroom interaction. To conclude this topic, language plays a very important role in classroom interaction, so that language ability should be improved and fluency in language should be improved. According to the language ability of students, the teachers may raise their questions and involve every student in classroom interaction. And here the language knowledge and language skills should be developed. In the form of classroom interaction, the knowledge of language and fluency in the language skills can be developed. Thank you.